Hey guys, in this one we're still on Orange Ruffy, recoing the suspension, so we're going to get into the hub assembly and the shock, finish that off, and then hopefully reassemble everything and attach it back onto the Caravan. If you bug out early in this one, please like and subscribe. Thanks. Okay, enjoy. I'm just going to run the shock through the wire brush wheel, and like everything else it's tidied up really well. So we're going to give that probably some black zinc paint, and the hub, which looks like it's been dug up from the bottom of the ocean, we're going to hit that next. We'll punch those studs out, knock out the bearing shells and clean all the grease out of it, which is a hideous job. And you'll probably find that one comes out pretty well too. That's actually a brake disc, believe it or not, but because this is not going to be braked, we're just going to paint that too. Okay, I think I've mounted that thread. Alright, I've knocked these bearing shells out, and there was a learning curve in there for me, or not really a learning curve, I was just being lazy. When you knock these out, make sure you wind the nuts on a decent way so you don't end up bending the wheel stud and then having to cut it off like I just did. So I think we'll just hit this with the wire brush machine and see how it goes. I might put it on time lapse actually for that. Alright, as you can see, all tidied up. Obviously it's got some pitting in it, being 49 years old, but all in all, not too bad. Grease nipple in there, which I'll probably take out before I paint actually. Yeah, pretty tidy. So I've just been over it with some brake clean, and I'll throw it in cold Gulf primer, and yeah, then I think we'll paint this puppy black. I've just been up under here cleaning up this inner wheel arch area, ready for paint, and the stuff that came out of there was horrendous. In fact, it was mainly lime off the road. It might have happened when we came back from up north. Blow that out with an air gun first. So she's all ready, and I've done around this suspension area as well. Just ground it all off. Ready for paint when we put this unit back on. That's what came out of it. All of that rubbish. Okay, I'll throw a bit of primer on there. It's the next day. We have painted the hub last night, so came out pretty well really. The area inside where the bearing seats, I've wiped all that out with thinners. That's all ready to go. Same with that area, hard to see. So that that is all ready to install. Painted up under the wheel arch here. So the tower there we've done in silver, and the wheel arch itself is a machinery grey enamel, which I did on my Caravan 9 years ago now, and it's still mint, so that should last a long time. Also, get some light there for you. Just put some paint up where this suspension unit's going to bolt back up pretty shortly after we reassemble it. I've just laid everything out on the table, so we're ready to reassemble this suspension unit. So we've got obviously our Duratorque suspension unit there, the hub. New wheel bearings. The bolts, they're pretty good really. So what I've run them through the wire brush wheel and just put some zinc paint over them to protect them, and I've gone out and bought new washers. We're going to put new wheel studs in it, and the bearing cover there, and we've also got the shock which is being painted up, and that's ready to be installed as well. Right, I think firstly maybe we'll put the wheel studs in this hub unit. It's the next day. Yesterday I went to put these studs in, and they're very difficult to get in. I think what happens is this splined area here is slightly wider on these than what it was on the originals. So the first one I pulled it through, and I had to really put some grunt into it to get it to come through, and I got it most of the way through, but not all the way through. So on the next ones, I drilled it out 1/2 mil and then covered everything in CRC, and they pulled through a lot easier. So I did that, and then I went back to the first one that wasn't pulled all the way through, and I thought, well, I put some CRC down the slot, and sort of in what was left, this was poking out a little bit, so tried to get some in there and put a bit of grunt on it, and went to pull the last one through and gutted. Heard a big crack, and that happened. So
if anyone knows where to get one, please let us know, because
yeah. So I was really gutted, so I just left it overnight. And I was thinking about it, 2 scenarios. One, I was too hard on it, which could be the case, or I found a weakness in the hub that may have already been there, which may have been an issue later. So it might have been a blessing in disguise, I don't know. Either way though, it sort of put us in a position where I've got a Caravan on the hoist, which I can't put a wheel on. So I'm going to have to go and try and find another one. And these ones here,
specified.
they're a 4-stud. 4-stud 110 mil, if you measure crosswise. And it needs to be that configuration because I want to put original wheels back on it and original hubcaps. I can go to Trojan tomorrow and get another one, which will fit on this this fine, because that's a pretty standard size. but it'll be a 5 stud. And I don't want to do that. I really want this to be original because we're putting all the original decals and everything back on it. So
yeah, but if you can't find one, you're gonna have to do that.
yeah, I mean, you could possibly weld this, but I'd really, you know, I'd be quite apprehensive about that because it goes all the way through. I don't know if you can see that. It comes all the way through the inside here as well. So it's a pretty, you know, it's a pretty good crack. And it made quite a noise when it went. But there's a few places where I can ring around a couple of, you know, guys I know of who are in the industry and just see if I can get another one of these. Worst case scenario, I can whip one off my Caravan for a while just so we can move this thing around and eventually, hopefully, we'll get one.
Are they the same on the panorama?
They will be. I don't want to take it off the panorama though because the panorama, we're still working on it, but
Haven't been for a while.
we take it off the 2000, which is a tandem axle. We can just put an axle stand underneath it and take it off just so this thing's mobile. That's the worst case scenario. I'd prefer not to do that.
Might have to.
Yeah. Hopefully next week I can find another one. It's anniversary day today, so there's not much we can do today.
Nothing's open, eh?
Nah. So I finished crying about it all night. So what I will do today is I'm gonna bolt this back on. I was hoping to install the hub on the bench, but I can't do that. So I might just bolt that back on the Caravan now, get that back in place, and then we'll carry on with tidying up the balance of this chassis. I'm picking the easiest way to put this on is the way we sort of took it off. So I might just lower the hoist down, crouch down, put some bolts through because it's quite heavy, this unit, so trying to hold it up and get bolts started will be a pain.
I can do it.
So, since you're small, you can stay under here while I lower the hoist and we'll get it down relatively close. Alright.
Can barely stand up.
There's that way actually, isn't it? Okay, look at that. What hit what? Nothing in yet? Are we still good, mate?
Yeah.
Oh, now that beat hit the table. I can probably operate from there, okay?
And that bent the table.
No, it just hit the table.
Oh, this is so annoying recording from this.
You'll be okay. Okay, we've got it hung up. It's just sitting loose at the moment. But as you can see, it obviously looks a lot better than that side. I've left that one there just so I can use it as a reference. Because one thing is, if you have a look up under here, these were used on a lot of different Caravans, these. So these are slotted. So I've got to make sure that I get it in the right place and that they can go in and out. So it's obviously to make sure that the wheel's not touching against the guard, that sort of thing. And using better hardware here is obviously making it look a lot better as well. New washers and better bolts and things. This is a weird setup. This it actually screws into. The actual arm itself, but what I'll do is I'll have a play because I'm thinking it's going to be temperamental.
Okay.
We'll come back in a sec. This is all done up now. I was trying to line it up and remember where it went, and then I just found a tiny little weld between the top plate and the bottom plate, which obviously cracked when it came off, and that showed me exactly where everything was. So I might do a similar thing on the other side just to give me a point of reference. But if I come round up under here, And that gives you an idea of sort of the finished product from underneath. There we go, and I'll see if I can come up over the hoist thing. Just come around behind the hoist. Got a little lighting man there with a torch.
Hello.
So that's our finished product. So we'll go and make a comparison with the other side. Firstly from underneath. Spectacular rusty sheen to it. And then if we come up underneath the wheel arch, similar sort of thing. So old, new, before, after. Right, I've got a couple of hours after work before it gets dark, so I'm going to rip into the rest of this chassis and with the wire brush wheel, get it all wire brushed up and hopefully get some primer and some paint on it depending on how we go with light. So I'll whack it on time lapse for you. Alright, look, that's the bulk of it done. There's a couple of little sort of more intricate bits that I've got to do, but I won't bother filming that. One of the advantages of doing this is you pick up stuff that you may not have already picked up before. Like a crack in the chassis, which I'm about to weld up. Now if you'd had that sandblasted, chances are nobody would have seen it, and it's right above the suspension too. It'll weld up okay though. It hasn't, doesn't appear to have gone too much further. Yeah, okay. I've just ground right off this crack in the chassis here, with little sandpaper wheel. So I'm just going to run some weld across it now. Appears to be welded to a plate just on the other side there, so that's where it stops. Okay, we'll weld her up and see how it goes. What I've done here, I was just a bit worried about where the location of this crack is, even though it's only really small. It's right by where the wheel and everything is, so there'll be, I don't know, probably a bit of movement there. So rather than just running a really hot weld through there, I've done a series of spot welds all together so it doesn't get too much heat into the area there. So definitely would have repaired the crack without having a big heat affected zone there. So I think that's the best way to go about it. Crack repaired. Went over it a couple of times just to make sure and ground it back, but that's mint. Right, I'm going to throw some primer around. We've done the wire brush wheel, so I'll primer it up now. Okay, I've decided just to go all in and prime it and top coat it as well. So she's pretty much done. Don't worry about the drawbar, that's getting cut off. There's a couple of little bits that I've missed, but I'm going to second coat it when it's daylight. But definitely looking a lot better than what it did, and everything's nice sound metal. It's a good chassis, a very good chassis actually. Alright, that's about long enough for this one. We've made pretty good progress this weekend. I'm still pretty gutted about that hub though, but I'll just have to deal with that next week. Not sure what we're going to do in the next one. I'll just have to see how it goes really. I'll have a look over it tomorrow and just see where we're up to and what we're going to do next. I do have to strip down the other suspension that I took off, but I won't bother filming that because we've done that already. So I'll have a look at it tomorrow and see what we're going to do next, or what we're going to film next for you guys. Okay, see ya.